Okay, recording is in progress.
Terrific. The time is 6:32 p.m. on September 17th, 2020, and I'd like to call this meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission to order. In the interest of public health and safety and pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order N-29-20, members of the Parks and Recreation Commission and staff are participating in this meeting by teleconference. In accordance with the Executive Order, the public may view this meeting online, but not in the council chambers. The city launched a virtual commenting portal, eComment, that allows residents to eComment and participate in the meeting from their own homes. You can find the link to eComment at www.chulavistaca.gov/boards. Your comments must be received before I call for the close of the commenting period in order to be considered. After the commenting period is closed, I will announce a brief pause to allow the commissioners time to read any comments that have been received. If you have difficulty or need assistance with eComment during the meeting, please call 619-993-5004 and Parks and Recreation staff will assist you. Would the secretary please call the roll?
Commissioner Enriquez? Commissioner Fernandez?
Present.
Commissioner Garcia Lopez? Commissioner German?
Here.
Commissioner Gregorio? Commissioner Zaram?
Present.
And Chair Doyle?
Present. The first order of business is to welcome our new city manager, Maria Cachadorian.
Sorry, just my screen here. So thank you. Hello, everyone. So I just want to take a couple minutes to introduce myself. I'm Maria Cachadorian. I'm the new city manager here with the city of Chula Vista. I've been with the city for about 22 years, so I've actually met many of you already. But what I'm doing is I am going to go to every board and commission meeting just to take a few minutes and just say hello and just really introduce myself. It's really awkward times, as we all know, scary times. But I wanted to make the effort and make sure that I try to connect as best I can. So I want to take some time out of your meeting today, just officially introduce myself to you. So as I mentioned, I've been with the city for about 22 years. Most of my career, I was the director of finance. So I was involved in dealing with the city's budget during the Great Recession. And I really thought that was pretty much the end of my career after having gone through that. But things just kind of lined up, and I had the opportunity to take this position on. So I'm actually very excited to do it, even though it's really tough times and we have a lot going on. We also have a lot of things that I want to make sure that we get across the finish line. So my primary goal, though, as I mentioned, is really working with staff and working with our fire department and police department to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep the community as safe as we can during this pandemic. As you know, South Bay has been hit harder than most of the other areas in the county. So we're constantly trying to come up with information, education, giving out masks, transitioning the way we do our work, primarily in our libraries and rec departments. So you're probably hearing a lot about that in meetings. So library and Parks and Rec have really pivoted and really stepped up to the plate to do as much as they can to help our community during this tough time. So we're really taking on some very different functions that we really had never thought we were going to be involved in. One of the things we're actually been looking at is partnering with the County of San Diego to do our own contact tracing and our own testing as a city of Chula Vista as we approach the flu season. I'm a little concerned that we're going to have a lot more demand for the testing, so we want to get prepared for that. I just wanted to let you know that, even though I'm working virtually right now, I do go into the office because I think it's important that we have leadership at City Hall. So, but I want to also let you know that about 80% of our staff go to work every day. So the majority of our staff are actually coming in, and the rest of the staff are working virtually. So we're still adjusting to the new reality. But I think as a city, we were one of the first that went out with closing our libraries and rec centers, and I think that was the right choice because we were going to get hit pretty hard. So with that, thank you for your service, and I hope to meet everyone in person someday soon. again, thank you for all you do. I really appreciate the time that you take out of your busy days to contribute back to the community. It means a lot. We have, compared to most cities, we're very low staff cities, so I think we get a lot done with the little staff that we have. And everything that you do actually helps us in doing that. So thank you very much. And that's about it. Thank you. I don't want to take up too much of your time. All right.
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman?
Maria. Yes, Mr. German.
Thank you. One housekeeping matter related to the agenda I want to bring up at this time before we got too far into it, and that is the entry under Commissioner's comments for Mike German's report on the Christopher Columbus statue. We may want to move that to staff reports, because this is not a report from me, but a request for the status from the Park and Rec staff. So I just want to be clear that that's what this agenda item was intended to be, and I believe it should be moved to staff comments, if not elsewhere.
Okay, that sounds good, and I agree. I was actually going to try and bring that up when we got towards that point, that we should get an update from Park and Rec and city staff on where we're at with that. So we'll address that at that point. Thank you. The consent calendar. I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on items on the consent calendar. Commissioner German?
I just have a question. That is, have any comments been submitted from the public so far? Because I haven't received anything.
We currently have, let me pull up fresh just to make sure. We currently have 3 comments that are on the document for us, and all 3 are in favor of the update on the Trails Master Plan. They're all very supportive comments of that.
It's not, I think, did you put start timer?
No, I did not do a timer.
Hey, Tim, it's Tashar. If you just want to click on the white box, the timer will start.
Well, I do not see the timer feature on this, but I believe we are about to hit our 2-minute window here. Well, there we go. There's the 2 minutes. So now we have the consent calendar. The first item is the approve the annual report of activities for fiscal year 2019-2020. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Commissioner German with the first. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner
Doyle.
Gregorio.
Chair Doyle, and this would be for both consent items.
Okay, we're doing both at the same time.
Correct.
For
Okay.
Consent calendar. Who was the second?
Gregorio.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chair Doyle, you are muted.
It's a good thing I wasn't reading yet. So I have a motion by Commissioner German and a second by Commissioner Gregorio. Secretary Gonzalez, please conduct the roll call vote.
Commissioner Enriquez? Commissioner Fernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Aye.
Commissioner Gregorio? Commissioner Zeram? Chair Doyle?
Yes.
Okay. And Commissioner Garcia Lopez is absent.
Let's see. We're past the consent calendar. So now we're moving on to other items. The first item up is action item number 3, which is the update on Trails Master Plan.
Can we maximize the screen?
Let me figure that out 1 second.
Are we waiting?
Yes, one moment, please.
Okay, are we ready to go? I think so. Great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Caro. I'm a landscape architect with the Development Services Department. And I'm joined today by Cheryl Goddard, a senior planner also with Development Services. And we are here this evening to provide you with an update on a long-range comprehensive trails master plan, as well as a pilot program that we are looking to implement on a shorter time frame. Next slide, please. I'll begin the presentation with discussion on the city's trails master planning effort, and Cheryl will follow with information on our pilot program. Next slide, please. So to provide you with a little background on this topic, The general plan and Parks and Recreation master plan include policies that promote the development of a citywide trails master plan that will essentially create a circulation network that links our paths, bikeways, open spaces, parks, and recreational facilities. The master plan will include trails within open space preserves, balancing the protection of open space while allowing public access. Next slide, please. A general overview of the master plan will include components such as trail planning, which will identify and map out the system, including linkages and staging areas. Design and construction will determine a hierarchy of trail types, trail features, and construction materials. Next slide. The trails program management operations will be a discussion on how the system will be managed, what rules and regulations will be in place to ensure that it's sustainable. With regard to program implementation, the overall system won't be installed at once and it will take some time. So there will need to be a discussion on how we go about selecting segments to implement as funds become available. It'll also be important to keep stakeholders and the community involved. So as we're able to acquire funding, we want to make sure you're included throughout the process, because things might have changed from the time we've completed the plan to when we're actually able to build some of these trails. And this might affect the priorities previously identified in the plan. Next slide, please. So the current status of our efforts is that we are actively seeking grants to submit applications that will fund the drafting of the master plan. So what you see there is a list of 3 grants that we're looking at. The first one is the Neighborhood Reinvestment grant through the County of San Diego, and we're actually looking at that now for our pilot program. We're also looking at a Smart Growth Incentive program through SANDAG that focuses on projects such as planning projects such as this Trails Master Plan would be. And then the Wildlife Conservation Board Public Access Program grant promotes access to open space areas in a thoughtful and managed way, something the Trails Master Plan definitely would do. Next slide, please. And so our next steps are then for the Trails Master Plan to secure funding to draft a plan, to select a consultant who then will lead us through the actual trail planning efforts, and then prepare any necessary environmental documents. And then lastly, we would look for funding to implement the plan to design, construct, and manage and operate their trail system. So with that concludes my portion of the presentation. And I would like to now turn it over to Cheryl Goddard for a discussion about our proposed pilot program. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. As Mark described, the Trail Master Plan will take time to complete and implement. In the interim, the city is reviewing existing formal trail systems and identifying opportunities to potentially add trail segments to the system, authorize additional uses like mountain biking, and identifying opportunities to improve the trail experience. Staff has focused on the Rice and Snake Canyon Trail Loop, which was analyzed as a part of the Rancho del Rey SWA plan approved in 1987. This pilot is anticipated to be implemented within 3 to 6 months, and once implemented and promoted by the city, the trail loop will be monitored to determine if there is an increase in trail usage and to pencil out actual maintenance costs. Next slide, please. This graphic shows the Rice Canyon Loop Trail implemented as a part of the Rancho del Rey SWA plan. The trails in pink are designated hiking and equestrian trails, while the turquoise trails are hiking only. This graphic also identifies features to help orient where the trail system is located. You can see the parks, including Discovery, Explorer, and Marisol parks, as well as the South Bay YMCA located off of Paseo Ranchero. Next slide. The pilot program specifically looks at the trail system shown on this graphic. In addition to hiking and equestrian use, staff is looking into adding mountain biking as an allowable use. Staging would be located on city property located at the Rice Canyon Open Space Preserve or across the street at Discovery Park. Rice Canyon includes a wider sewer maintenance access road that traverses the canyon. Staff would also like to include a single track option that is located midpoint in the canyon and heads east towards the staging area. The single track was not included as a part of the Rancho del Rey SWA. However, this single track can be seen on aerials dating back to the mid-1990s. which is prior to the approval of the Multiple Species Conservation Program Subarea Plan. The city also recently received a grant from the Sandag Environmental Mitigation Program to install fencing along one side of the single track trail to discourage the trail from widening and to protect sensitive plant species in the area. Staff from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife were a part of the grant application evaluation team. Jumping over to Snake Canyon, Snake Canyon is a single track trail. The trailhead on the east is adjacent to the fire station off of Paseo Ranchero, and the west end is located at the Home Depot parking lot. The loop trail does include sidewalks and bike lanes to connect the two canyons. Next slide, please. This figure provides an aerial view and identifies the single track trails and the wider sewer maintenance access roads or sidewalks and bike lanes in yellow. Next slide, please. Here we see photos showing both the maintenance road, the wider maintenance road, as well as the single track trail. The top photos are from Rice Canyon, and the first two photos on the bottom are from Snake Canyon, and the last photo on the bottom row is from the sewer maintenance road just west of Del Rey Boulevard. Next slide. Shows how the Loop Trail pilot program fits into the existing Rice Canyon Loop Trail. The trail is shown in pink that head north towards Bonita are not included in this phase. They are very steep, and if those trails were to be planned today, they would have been designed to be switchback. Those trails will be analyzed at a later time and definitely as a part of the trails master plan. Next slide, please. Staff identified trail improvements for the Loop Trail, including updating the trail map installed at Rice Canyon, staging area, installing directional signs to help people locate trailheads, and also signage for trail etiquette, closing off redundant trails, trimming back of vegetation, replacing footbridges, and addressing trail sections that may stay wet due to rain events or stay wet year-round due to runoff. Next slide, please. This slide provides the visuals of those trail improvements. The first photo is the existing trail map installed at the Rice Canyon staging area that will need to be updated and replaced. We have examples of trail signage that can be installed. The aerial on the top right shows redundant trails as you enter Snake Canyon on the east end. You can definitely see multiple entrances, and if you are out on the site, there's actually more trails that have been cut in to drop into the canyon. The bottom left photo shows an example of brush trimming that could occur along the single track to clear a narrow path, as well as one of the footbridges that will be examined to see if it needs to be replaced. The last two photos on the bottom right are from Snake Canyon, and these are the areas that tend to stay wet throughout the year. So the photo with the wood plank, we're exploring an option of putting in a low profile footbridge, and then we'd be working with our Public Works Department on the last photo where we see the culvert. Next slide, please. To date, we have met with small groups representing local mountain bikers and hiking and trail runners to get initial feedback on the trail loop. We have also presented at the Chula Vista Bike Walk meeting held in August. Participants were supportive of the Trail Loop pilot program and are excited, as a staff, that the city is looking into completing a trails master plan and formally opening more trails and expanding allowed uses to mountain biking. As we build relationships with these trail users, we are hoping to form partnerships with the user groups and potentially local businesses to help fund the trail improvements, as well as setting up trail cleanup days to help with trail maintenance needs. Next slide. This slide shows our next steps. Staff will be providing City Council with an update similar to tonight's presentation as an informational item. We will be outlining costs for the trail improvements and providing a schedule of implementation to install these improvements. We would then return back to your commission to formally ask that you consider adding mountain biking as an allowed use to the Rice and Snake Canyon Loop Trail. This concludes staff presentation, and we are here for questions.
Thank you. Do others have any clarifying questions for the staff before we go to public comment? Commissioner Sherman?
Thank you. Thank you, Mark and Carol, for excellent presentation. One thing I've noticed in the last 2 or 3 weeks with all the heat is in walking around and looking for cooler places, we don't really have a lot of shade here in Chula Vista. And that's not just our fault, but the whole South Bay and San Diego County area generally. We have a lot of scrub vegetation that doesn't really provide shade. It does provide a lot of fuel for fires, though, but that's a separate topic. All I'm doing is asking that you bear in mind the need for improving shade on our trails with trees that would be high enough and hopefully of the inflammable variety that would be an asset in terms of keeping folks cool while they're using the trails for whatever purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner German. Any other commissioners with clarifying questions? Okay, I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on the item before commission deliberation. Commissioners, please remember to click the link in the chat you have on your screen in front of you and make sure you see the comments that are currently posted for this action item. There are currently 3 of them that are in favor of what's currently being proposed.
Hey guys, hang on.
The comment period for this item is now closed. Have the commissioners had enough time to read the submitted comments?
Yep.
Terrific. Will the secretary please announce for the record the number of comments received in favor and opposed to the item?
3 e-comments were received.
Do any commissioners have comments or questions? Commissioner German?
Just to clarify, the comments received were all in favor, correct?
Is correct. 3 were in favor.
Thank you. I just wanted that on the record.
Thank you. Any additional comments or questions from the commissioners? The next item up on our agenda is going to be agenda item number 4. Agenda item 4 is develop and discuss Park and Recreation Commission goals and objectives for the fiscal year 2021. Our staff recommendation is to discuss and develop our Park and Recreation Commission goals and objectives for the next fiscal year. Do the commissioners currently have the existing goals They were sent out by the secretary. Does our staff have a presentation for this item?
We do not.
Sure. In an abbreviated year with not many meetings, I would recommend, I don't want to make a motion, but I would recommend that we carry forward the goals from fiscal year 2019, 2020 into 2021, in case there's any other discussion you guys want to have about that. Commissioner Enriquez?
Yes, I just, feels like we just voted on this, but I guess maybe it's been a year. I guess. I would just make some recommendations on, let's see, number 3, about, I love the idea of doing this recognition, community recognition award program for community members with a commission with encouraging innovation, volunteerism, and excellence. I would just like to throw in maybe some ideas about conservation or advocacy. I guess volunteerism is service, so it's just kind of verbiage there. But since we are Parks and Rec, I would like maybe to throw in the idea of conservation and advocacy for our community. Also, I have a recommendation for number 6, same as last year. I will be in favor of our goals if number 6 reads, identify and increase security at parks, facilities, and open spaces to make parks safer for the community by reviewing park amenities for risks to public safety. I don't agree with calling out homeless people or in here as defined by vagrants. I think it's an offensive term. So again, those are my thoughts.
Okay, Commissioner German, thank you.
However predictable it may be, as I did last year, I would respectfully object to Commissioner Enriquez's suggestions for revision. The problem starts and ends with the homeless in our parks. There's no denying that. As I mentioned the last time we discussed this, vagrancy is a term of law. It's contained in various statutes of the state of California. Let's call a spade here and identify the problem so we can deal with it correctly. Life is tough. Sometimes you have to talk tough. Sometimes you got to call it tough. And I think we need to do that here. That's my position. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner German. Zarma, Gregorio, any thoughts or comments on this?
On which, on
adding, on anything for the objectives or those 2 changes or revisions specifically?
I support Commissioner German and his comments on number 6. For number 11, I would recommend that we just add federal, since we're going to link up with some federal trails by U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So we call it state, county, municipal. It does say other trail networks, but we could just throw the word federal in there as well, federal, state, county.
Chair Doyle, you're on mute.
Thank you. So number 11 to add in federal for municipal spaces or with other trail networks. Either one of those work for you?
I would say existing federal, comma, state, comma, county, comma.
Okay.
Just slip federal in there.
That's adding federal to that one. Wonderful. I think for item number 3, adding in conservation for advocacy, I think is a good idea. Do you guys, or do we all support this one as well for Commissioner Enriquez's change to number 3?
I do.
Terrific.
I do have a comment on number 6 as well. I think, why make it point out specifically vagrants. I think it should just be to ensure parks and facilities are safe to all dangers and potential hazards.
Okay. So maybe we need to find that middle road of not saying they're frequented or taken over by vagrants, but something involving keeping them safe and not being overrun by vagrants.
Correct.
Commissioner German?
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that in fact, a big part of my suggestions go to the fact that it's necessary to make and keep making a record of this problem as long as it persists. There's no denying the problem has not gone away. It persists. Therefore, I think that we should keep the language as it is without the addition suggested by either Commissioner Gregorio or Commissioner Enriquez. That seemed to work for the last year without any controversy over it. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong in staff comments, but I believe we made progress in that direction. I'm not claiming that this language alone was helpful towards making that progress, but every little bit hurts. And I think I'd like to see the language kept the same, if in fact it is the same. And I say that again for clarification of the record.
Commissioners, can I remind you that we should deliberate after the public comment window has been closed. So can we start the 2-minute when you call it, Chair Doyle?
Yes. I will now call for the 2-minute pause to allow public to submit any final comments on this item before commission deliberation. And commissioners, make sure you refresh your link so you can see all comments that may have come in. Okay, the commenting period for this item is now closed. Have the commissioners had enough time to read the submitted comments, of which I saw none? So, since we've already started discussion, trying to pick up where we were with changing a couple of the wording around. Is there a middle ground we can get that replaces to ensure that they are not frequented, taken over by vagrants, to something that includes a vagrant term, but does not say frequented or taken over? Thoughts on that one? Commissioner German?
Perhaps use the word abused for both.
Abused?
Yes. To ensure that they are not, how does it read now? To ensure that they are not taken over or frequented?
It says frequented or taken over.
Okay, then my suggestion would be to replace both those with abused.
So that they
to
are
ensure
not
that they are
abused
not
by vagrants?
abused by vagrants. Correct.
It seems like a less. Commissioner Enriquez, your thoughts? Or Commissioner Gregorio?
My point being that the
You don't want vagrants in there.
yeah, just the homeless population in general being called out within our community as, I mean, some of the people may have been residents of Chula Vista in apartments and homes, and during this pandemic found themselves homeless. And so I don't know, I just don't have I don't appreciate individuals in our community being called out negatively.
Okay. Commissioner Gregorio, anything else to add on that?
Yeah. Besides the safety aspect in general, not just vagrants, but overall, just patrolling the area and making sure they're not being abused by anyone, actually, not just by vagrants. But yeah, I agree with Commissioner Enriquez calling out vagrants in particular. It does seem to bother me just a little, but that's just me.
And I'd be okay. I would vote yay on if it said individuals or people, or just in a general term.
Commissioner German?
I just would offer a rebuttal to Commissioner Enriquez's statement that reference to COVID-19 is speculative. There's no evidence that any of these people, first of all, are Chula Vista residents, or that they were put into this situation as a result of CV-19. It's become a convenient excuse for a lot of things, and I don't want us to go down that path. I think we need to tell it like it is, and if that seems harsh to some people, so be it. But we're in a position where we are tasked with making decisions, and those decisions are not always easy ones, and they're not always able to be coated with sugar and spice. So I stand by my previous opinions on this topic.
Well, I could definitely say I've seen your average citizen abuse parks as well. So I'm just saying it's more than just vagrants that abuse it. We also abuse it. We leave trash around. We skateboard where we're not supposed to skateboard. We ride bikes where we're not supposed to. So I think we need to cover all aspects of this if we're going to mention this safety.
Well, can I say something?
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Zarum.
I think you all know I get out there a lot on the trails, and recently behind Gail McCandless Park, which sits above the Terra Nova Shopping Plaza, I got run out of there by the homeless. They told me I wasn't welcome and I needed to leave. And there was a big homeless encampment up there. There's a trail behind Gail McCandless Park that it goes along H Street, almost to the Home Depot. It kind of starts across from the Home Depot there on H. And there was a couple homeless encampments in there, and they made it very clear that I wasn't welcome and I had to leave, and I did before it got violent. And I reported it to Public Works and the Parks staff, and they had to go in there, and I think they told me a couple tons of debris had to be removed from there. So they are a problem. If you get off the main park areas and into some of these open spaces, you will run into them. They're there, and I report them every time I see them, and some of them are pretty dangerous. So, I have my pepper spray with me because you never know.
German?
There's one other element that is very relevant here, and that is the potential for fires. And it's not just a potential. We've had several instances with the past several years where the homeless encampments, or just groupings of homeless individuals without rising to the level of an encampment, have resulted in fires. The most recent one I can think of was the one on the interchange of what is it, 54 and the 805. It may have been a National City property. It may have been on the county land, but that's close enough to Chula Vista for me. And I've personally experienced, when I lived in San Francisco years ago, homeless responsible for burning down churches that they were encamped in. People thought they were doing them a favor by allowing them to stay there. No, they were cooking up drugs, and the result was a fire that was 2 houses down from where I lived. I've seen this. The documentation is there. This is a problem. We shouldn't coddle these people. They've been coddled for too long. We need to be firm with them, and we start being firm with them by adopting firm language.
My concern is they're never going to see our firm language, but I get the sentiment behind it. I think and call me crazy here, I think the middle ground is not going to be able to get rid of the term vagrant, but I think we should actually include all the ideas we've kind of thrown in here and say that the bad part that Commissioner Enriquez and Gregorio didn't like would change to say, to ensure that they are not abused by individuals, possibly including vagrants or including vagrants. That way it says individuals, because we want everyday citizens going through the parks to make sure they respect the park and not tear them up. But also we're including vagrants because that is an ongoing issue, whether or not they got into that situation because of COVID or something else. So we're kind of covering all the bases.
I have
on a middle ground on that. Commissioner German?
I have no problem with that. The change you just suggested.
Okay. Anyone else?
I guess to me, that is the middle ground for me, because it's more than just vagrants. I've seen it abused by what we call, I guess, non-vagrants individuals,
right?
Community citizens.
Yeah, no, and it's an issue, and it's not just vagrants. So I think including the term individuals is a smart call. But I also see the point from Commissioner German and Zarm that we need to also consider that, you know, vagrants and homeless encampments are an issue in parks and trails and things along those lines. So we need to make sure we have that wording included. So that's kind of my thought on that. So number 3, we were good by adding conservation or advocacy. Number 11, we're going to add federal in there before state. And then for number 6, it will read, identify and increase security at parks, facilities, and open spaces to ensure that they are not abused by individuals, including vagrants, to make parks safer for the community by reviewing park amenities for risk to public safety. Does that sound good? Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner German. Is there a second?
Second.
Is the second?
Fernandez.
Commissioner Fernandez, thank you for the second. So we have a motion by Commissioner German and a second by Commissioner Fernandez. Secretary Gonzalez, please conduct the roll call vote.
Commissioner Enriquez?
Nay.
Commissioner Fernandez?
Yay.
Commissioner German?
Yay.
Commissioner Gregorio?
Yay.
Commissioner Zaram?
Yay.
Chair Doyle?
Aye.
Commissioner Garcia Lopez is absent.
Chair Doyle, you're muted again.
Why does it mute me all of a sudden like that? So the next item will be item number 5, which is the nomination of up to 3 commissioners to serve on the Measure P Citizen Oversight Committee.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Go
to
ahead.
Avoid one thing, lesson I learned in this process since the last time was the screen and microphone will automatically default to muting you, and therefore you have to unmute it when you're getting ready to speak. I don't know how long it takes for it to do that, but that's what was troubling me in the first session. Now I've got it figured out. So just recall that and you'll have no problem.
I appreciate the pointer. Thank you. Okay, so is there a presentation from the staff for this?
We do not have a presentation.
Perfect. So at this point, is there anyone? Oh, actually. So at this point, we'll call for a 2-minute pause to allow for the public to submit any final comments on the item before deliberation. Will staff, secretary, please display the, oh, sorry. Please go ahead and start the timer. The commenting period for this item is now closed. I did not see any public comments come in. Do any commissioners have any comments or questions on up to 3 of us that would be recommended for the Measure P Citizens Oversight Committee? Any takers off the bat? Any volunteers? Don't all raise your hand at once. Commissioner Gregorio, that's a volunteer right there. Okay. I think I saw Commissioner Fernandez raise his hand.
I just got off of it, but given the circumstances, I got off because I was traveling. Now I'm working remote and probably won't be back until next year, so I could do it, but not permanently.
Okay, and I was half with that anyway. We'll put you on the list. I don't mind being the third option if no one else wants to take a stab at it. Commissioner Zarum, Enriquez, German, any interest in doing Measure P?
Respectfully, no.
It seemed very specific about knowledge and do I have to be knowledgeable about budgets and where's the other? Hold on, I have to look at it.
Commissioner Fernandez, you don't need to be knowledgeable. They go over a lot of the reports, so they walk you through a lot of the stuff. You don't really need to have a background in it. It's just nice if sometimes you can understand it a little bit more.
Yeah, I was on it when it first started, and it was a lot of seeing the plans, the reports on how they show what they're going to work on, what they're working on, progress reports on where things are at, how money's being allocated, things along those lines. Nothing too financially, no, not too much financial background needed to get through it.
Well, I run a school budget, so if that's enough for the to be a commissioner on there, then I'm willing to participate. Is it all people, or are there one person goes and then we backfill, or everybody attends?
So I believe the process on this is we submit 3 names, and then they will pick the person that's going to go and represent, and then our person will represent our commission at those meetings.
Yeah, you can put my name. That's fine.
So we'll go with Commissioner Enriquez, Commissioner Fernandez, and Commissioner Gregorio. And I only did that because it's alphabetical order, not order of preference. So I guess that would be our motion for this item, correct? So do we have someone who will make the motion that those are our 3 people?
Mallory.
Or do we not need a motion on this one?
We do need a motion on this.
Okay, so we do need a motion to cover to send Enriquez, Fernandez, and Gregorio as our 3 names. Commissioner German?
In addition to needing a motion, I think it would be most appropriate if someone other than one of the 3 people nominated made the motion. So absent anyone jumping the gun on me, I will make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner German. Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion by Commissioner German to nominate Commissioner Enriquez, Fernandez, and Gregorio to the Measure P Oversight Committee, with a second by Commissioner Zarum. Secretary, will you please call the roll call vote?
Commissioner Enriquez. Commissioner Fernandez.
Aye.
Commissioner German.
Aye.
Commissioner Gregorio.
Aye.
Commissioner Zarum.
Aye.
Chair Doyle.
Aye.
Garcia Lopez is absent.
Item number 5 passes. And the next item up will be item number 6. Item number 6 is the selection of our commission chair and vice chair for the fiscal year 2021. We do not have a presentation for this from city staff, correct?
That is correct.
Should we go through public comment before we get to discussing this amongst ourselves?
I believe that's the correct process. Thanks.
Perfect. I will now call for a 2-minute pause to allow the public to submit any final comments on the item before deliberation. Commissioners, please remember to refresh your screen so you can view any comments that appear. Will staff presenter please display the public comment and start the timer?
Chair Doyle, you're on mute.
Me again with the mute. The commenting period for this time is now closed. I do not see any comments. At this point, Commission, what would we like to discuss about this? Any thoughts, volunteers for chair and vice chair?
Are we okay with just continuing with the current lineup?
I'm not opposed to doing that again if everyone's on board.
I'm good with it.
On board.
Okay, then. Is there a motion to approve?
A motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Gregorio.
Second.
Second from Commissioner German. I have a motion by Commissioner Gregorio and a second by Commissioner German. Secretary Gonzalez, please conduct the roll call vote.
Commissioner Enriquez?
Aye.
Commissioner Fernandez?
Aye.
Commissioner German?
Aye.
Commissioner Gregorio?
Aye.
Commissioner Zaram?
Aye.
Chair Doyle?
Aye.
Cia Lopez is absent.
Item number 6. Move on to item number 7. Item number 7 is the recommendation to update Chapter 7 of Master Fee Schedule, which is the field use fees. At this point, I believe we have a presentation from city staff.
Correct, we do. Let me see if I can share this video appropriately.
Yes, we can see it, Tim, but you're on mute.
All right, there you go. All right, so you can see the full screen, correct? Am I muted
yes,
again?
That is correct.
Okay.
We can see it.
All right, thank you. All right, before we get started, I wanted to note that there has been a change in the staff report and attachments from what was originally sent out. So the errata and current attachments on the e-comment portal show the updated change. Parks and Recreation operates primarily on 2 revenue streams. Program revenue, which make up about 25% of our revenue, has currently dropped to 0 with all of our closure. Tax revenue, which drives our general fund allocation, has decreased overall due to COVID-19. Chula Vista Parks maintenance budget is $6.6 million overall, with about $1.6 million in sports field maintenance, primarily through water and staffing costs. Youth sports organizations provide roughly $6,500 to the city in user fees, which is a cost recovery rate of only 0.5%. Tonight's presentation discusses what rates would be needed to achieve full cost recovery, what other agencies across California are charging, and recommendations for fees and policies to be adjusted for youth sports organizations here in Chula Vista. With the current $11 per team charge, the equivalent per hour rate charged to the currently allocated youth sports groups equals about 4 cents an hour. With an annual cost of almost $1.6 million, full cost recovery rates for field usage would be $20 an hour, which means the city currently subsidizes over 99% of the cost to use fields. Last year, the city terminated an agreement in which the sports organizations were paying $11 per player to a supplemental field maintenance account. Here are some rates from other agencies across California for field usage. Many of the fees have ranges due to tiers and participation, which we will discuss in our recommendations moving forward. As you can see, some organizations charge as little as $0 an hour and as high as $46 an hour. The fee ranges from other agencies are due to implementing tiered rates. The city should prioritize and subsidize users that have an everyone plays philosophy and is volunteer-based. Most organizations wholly fit into one tier or the other, but there may be some organizations like AYSOs, since they have their core program which fully aligns with Tier 1, and then their matrix program has select teams and would align with Tier 2. Over the past month, Tracy and I have been meeting with many of the sports organizations to discuss our task of updating these fees. We originally discussed per hour rates, but realized due to the inability of actually identifying the field use in advance of registration, we determined a per player rate would be more beneficial for the organizations and the city to have consistent revenue. It should be noted that all organizations mentioned the timing of this proposed increase comes at a terrible time when many organizations are having to refund players from last season, and there are still restrictions on competition with no anticipated date on when it can return. But with all the input we have received, we changed our approach and now recommend a phased rollout of fee increases as follows. A recommendation tonight would agree to the Tier 1 and Tier 2 language and determinations, and then also recommend the field use fee updates as follows. Beginning February 1st, 2021, charge an $11 per rate for all organizations. Beginning July 1st, 2021, implement Phase 2, which would charge Tier 1 groups $22 a player and Tier 2 groups $50 per player. This would also update the master fee schedule language as noted in the attachments and implement the field user priority as noted on the next slide. As you can see, this department and city programs come first, followed by Tier 1 in-season sports. Then public schools, followed by Tier 2 in-season sports. Private schools would then come before any out-of-season sports. Lastly, all other groups that do not align with any of the previous priorities would be on a first-come, first-served basis, assuming any available space. With the master fee schedule update, we are also including the new Friendship Park deck, as well as updating Mountain Hawk Park Gazebo number 1, naming it the Mountain Hawk Park Events Pavilion, to help facilitate more appropriate events for that facility. And you can see the pictures of the newly completed deck on the bottom there. So walking through this timeline, we'd like to bring our final recommendations to City Council on November 17th, implementing the Mountain Hawk Park Events Pavilion and Friendship Deck fees on December 1st, 2020, along with the updated language in the master fee schedule. Phase 1 of the field fees, which would be the $11 per player for all tiers, would be implemented February 1st, 2021. And Phase 2 of the field fees, which would be $22 per player for Tier 1 and $50 a player for Tier 2, would be implemented on July 1st, 2021 for the new fiscal year. So that concludes my presentation. I'll take comments and questions.
Do you have any clarifying questions before we go to public comment? Commissioner German?
Tim, am I correct that in order to get what I'll call, for lack of a better term, an overall discounted rate, that the organization, profit or not, needs to be primarily sports directed?
For the field use fees, correct, and they do need to be nonprofit.
That we got earlier from Giovanna, that the nonprofit rates are at least the same as resident private individual rates, but sometimes higher, but never less. Is that correct? Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, you were muted at the beginning of that question. Can you please repeat?
Sorry about that. Talking about the preferential rates, the discounted rates, is it true that they have to be at least what a local resident would pay, and sometimes higher, but never lower? Do you see what I'm saying?
Are you talking about field usage, or are you
Yeah.
specifically referring to the facilities that we added in?
Also,
Okay, so the field usage fees for general residents are $25 an hour. And
Right.
so the proposed field fees that we are updating are specifically for the nonprofit Chula Vista organizations. So it's for the sports teams that that we currently allocate fields to. They in the past were called the Youth Sports Council, but it is actually a lower rate than what a general facility rental would be, because this is essentially a program that the city is not able to offer that these organizations are offering, but they do have to be nonprofit.
right, and sports oriented, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so for instance, the American Friends Service Committee could not come in and say, hey, we want to rent a field for a party, but we want the discounted rate. That's not going to work, correct?
Correct. That would be at the $25 general rate.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions before we go to Commissioner Zarum?
Yes, Tim, where does this put us with our cities? Lower?
Commissioner Zarum, you broke up when you asked a question. It sounds like you want to know where we are in terms of other agencies around us. Is that what you're asking for?
Yeah, our neighboring San Diego National City, are we in the same price range with the proposed changes? Are we higher? Are we lower? Competitive?
We're competitive. So I know the City of San Diego does have a $22 per team rate. Carlsbad, for their city organizations are $0 per hour. But anything that's
they're like 50 miles away, so I don't consider them a neighboring city.
And then most of the other agencies near us do not have the field capacity, so they don't have the same type of fee structure. El Cajon does have a similar structure to us, and they charge a lesser rate. I believe they are about $20 per team as well. So this is putting us slightly higher than our neighboring cities.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Fernandez, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Have we talked with any of the youth sports and kind of, at least for right now, how COVID is going to affect whether they're going to be renting fields or in the future? I mean, I know some of them probably took some financial hits, not being able to play or having to refund money for this year. Are they aware of the increases now?
Yeah, so we talked to about a dozen organizations and had dialogue with them. As mentioned, none of them are happy about seeing an increase. They understand where the city's coming from. I don't know if it's something that they are supportive of. They do understand that with the decrease of revenues for the city, that we have a harder time maintaining the fields. But conversely, they also have stated that, especially the Little League baseball teams, because they all started right when the pandemic hit. So they had a lot of registration taken and expenses put out for baseballs and uniforms, but yet they weren't able to play. So they're getting a lot of requests for refunds, and they said that they're having a difficulty proceeding with any increase. So that's why we originally were just going to propose the $22 and $50 rate beginning in February. But with the discussion of the organizations, we wanted to delay that a little bit, but still allow the city to have some of the recovery dollars to help us maintain the fields throughout the spring. So we went back to what they were being charged with that $11 per player rate that was going to the supplemental field maintenance account.
And some of the teams are practicing, soccer groups and other organizations that are able to get out there, still can do skills and drills training, which they are with a large number of the groups. It's some sports did decide to step away, but for the most part, everyone's trying to get kids out there and are working towards this. They are concerned about it, but which is why we went back to what they were originally paying, which was the $11 per player, was something they already did. So it's It's not trying to generate anything new. It's just trying to go to back what went away for a little bit so that we could restructure how we're providing services to the youth sports organizations.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I know we're kind of in unprecedented times, and I guess one bright light I know over in Eastlake, at least, some of the grass areas look a lot better, not having kids on them for a few months. So I mean, at least we get some good turf back when they start back up.
Okay, at this point, I'll call for a 2-minute pause to allow public to submit any final comments on the item before deliberation. Commissioners, please make sure you refresh your link to make sure you can see any comments that appear. Will staff please display the public comment and start the time? The commenting period for this item is now closed. I did not see any comments. Do any of the commissioners have any questions on the action items we were shown? Okay, do we have a motion to approve item number 7 on the agenda? Commissioner German, do we have a second?
Second, Fernandez.
Sorry, it's on first. So we have a motion by Commissioner German, a second by Commissioner Enriquez. Secretary Gonzalez, please conduct the roll call vote.
Sorry, for the record, we did receive one e-comment from Scott Waddle.
I apologize. I did not see that when I refreshed before I got out of there.
Sorry, he actually emailed it to me just right now at 7:51.
Copy that.
Commissioner Enriquez?
Hi.
Commissioner
Can we hear the
Fernandez?
comment? I'm sorry, can we hear the comment or?
Sure, give me 1 second, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Chair Chair Doyle, I forwarded it to you.
Terrific. This coming from Scott Waddle would. Okay, I'm not muted this time. Perfect. So the summary of this is they would like to continue discussions with city staff about the implementation of these to make sure that there should be an in-season or an out-of-season. It looks like the teams would like to touch base a little, or this new rate schedule kicks into gear. At least that's the public comment that we received. So with that being said, is there any additional comment we would like on amongst commissioners on this? Chairman?
Mr. German, you're muted.
My comment was, is it possible to read the email comment verbatim? Because I'm having a hard time accessing it through the chat. I think that's what Commissioner Enrico was asking when she said, could you read it?
Okay, let me. Sure, here we go. Hang tight for 1 second. So having just received a proposal a couple of hours before today's meeting, we've not had much time to consider and fully evaluate the proposed changes. Organization boards and families, we've had conversations with staff and we understand the need for an increase in fees and some other changes. That being said, now the proposed changes have been set forth in writing. Additional constructive input from the impacted organizations and their constituents is warranted and will result in a better outcome. Concerns that have been raised relate to the following subjects: relative speed of the increase. Again, there's a consensus among youth sports that they need to go up. Concern was for more gradual implementation, given current state we're in. The second is unintended consequences of the language as drafted. The language as drafted will have a disparate impact on programs which straddle both Tier 1 and Tier 2. There should be a stated position on what is or is not an in-season or an out-of-season sport, as these terms have changed over time. And there should be further discussion regarding the proposed field use scheduling priority, particularly as it relates to concern about in-season and out-of-season. Commissioner German.
Question for Tim. Is there a time constraint that you're operating under? Would you have a problem if additional time were given to address the considerations in the email comment?
So we have been tasked with moving forward with an update for at some point this fiscal year. So with the season cycles, to address Mr. Waddle's comments as far as the in-season and out-of-season goes, the rise of club sports and travel sports has kind of muddied the waters when it comes to seasonal sports. But when it comes to the recreational based organizations like the Little Leagues and the AYSOs, the core program of the AYSOs, they do have specific seasons. So our spring season is softball, baseball, and lacrosse, and the fall season is soccer and football. Granted, soccer does play through the spring as well, so year round. But we do have time between now and the city council meeting, which is 2 months from today, to have more dialogue to discuss on how to implement these fees and what the best strategy moving forward. We actually pulled back a lot from our original proposal with Mr. Waddle. And so today's recommendation, which is the $11 per player rate, that starts in February is no different than where we were a year ago today. It's just that instead of having that $11 per player go to the supplemental maintenance account, it now goes to the city's operating fund.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Mr. Waddle question whether or not the dollar amounts had been provided in writing? If he did, and I understand that he did from the email that was read, weren't they provided in writing with the same document that was forwarded along with the agenda to all of us on the commission?
The agenda was posted. We did reach out to the organizations today after we were able to get some further dialogue regarding the pullback of the recommendations. So our original recommendations were the $22.50, and then today we sent out the information for them to because we were discussing and deliberating with our management team what the recommendations moving forward would be. So technically, they had access to the agenda items the same time that you did, but we didn't send it specifically out to them until today.
Right, but they had the same access that everyone else given notice was given, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. I'm just concerned that you have apparently a good working relationship with Mr. Waddle and his organizations, and his request seems a reasonable one, but at the same time, he did have notice. On the other hand, again, some of those figures apparently changed as of today. So on that point only, he makes a better argument for a slight delay, emphasize slight.
The fee change went down. The changes in the fees didn't go up. They went down to work more to the favor, and because we were reacting to the feedback we were getting from the different sports organizations.
Okay.
So I think.
Thanks for clarifying that.
My pleasure. I mean, we're doing what we can to talk to the different groups. We'll continue to work on this over the next couple of months. The idea of going to the $11 is to go back to where we were. Teams are still active. We just don't know when full scrimmaging and contact play will resume. We don't know what that's going to happen because of COVID. But kids are out there using the fields. They are taken special care of for the sports groups. We are doing scheduling monthly. We go month to month now because of the COVID situation. We're working with them on education and information to ensure that they conduct their practices in a safe manner for both the participants and the coaches, as well as our city employees that go out and check on them. So we're doing what we can as fast as we can because of COVID, but we believe it will be closer to that July period of time when sports can resume full play and scrimmaging, but we don't know. So this is us trying to be cautious and understanding. And also in the meantime, we're looking for alternative ways to help subsidize families of need during COVID. We're looking at other funding opportunities to help offset registration costs for the clubs as well as the city, but mostly for club fees to help kids participate in sports. We are doing that. Tim and I were in some meetings on that today. So we are looking at how we can support kids and the clubs so they can continue under these challenging times.
So therefore, if this proposal were to pass with the committee's recommendation tonight, there would be no prejudice to the various sports organizations involved. Is that correct?
That's correct. And we also could, come back with a lower price. We'd come back and let you guys know via thing, but this is just the starting point. We still got a couple months. We still need to learn. We still need to listen. Part of communication is listening, and we still need to listen and work with our partners, the sport groups.
Right. Future benefit is no prejudice. It sounds good to me. Thank you.
Okay. With all that discussion, we still have a motion by Commissioner German and a second by Commissioner Enriquez. Secretary Gonzalez, please call the roll call vote.
Commissioner Enriquez?
Aye.
Commissioner Fernandez?
Aye.
Commissioner German?
Aye.
Commissioner Gregorio?
Aye.
Commissioner Zarum?
Aye.
Chair Doyle?
Aye.
Garcia Lopez is absent.
With that, item number 7 passes. And at this point, we are done with action items. We're moving on to other business. Chair comments. I have nothing special to chime in on. I do thank you all for allowing me to be your chair for another year. Hopefully we'll get to sit down and see each other in person at some point here. I am enjoying this virtual version of our meetings. However, it's a lot more fun to see you guys in person and get to sit in the mayor's chair a couple times. So I hope we get back to that at some point here. That is all I have for mine. As far as commissioners' comments, I know Commissioner German, you had discussed moving your item to staff comments, which we did get an e-comment on from one of the members of our other commissions. Did you guys all see that link in the chat to that comment? Commissioner German, you're muted.
I did not see it because I'm having trouble navigating this chat button to get the emails. Can you instruct
I've
me?
also emailed it to the commissioners.
How do I access them from here? If I'm able to.
Click on the chat. It should be on your upper right side.
Lower right for me. With a red button, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. And then I get a bunch of links.
Go all the way to the bottom. You'll see the majority of the comment is posted right there. Or if you click the link, it takes you to the document.
Here we go. Yeah. If I could, you indulge me for a second here.
Delio, do you want to read it out loud?
I'll
read it if you want me to.
Okay. So here we go. I'm probably going to catch up to Commissioner German here. From Commissioner Medina, who's on the Human Relations Commission, they unanimously adopted a resolution regarding the permanent removal of the Columbus statue. Our HRC has worked relentlessly to acquire a welcoming city certification that speaks to the health, wellness, and welcoming environment for all community members in the city of Chula Vista. Here are some other charges of our HRC. The first duty of the commission shall be to assist the city by completing all required steps to become a certified welcoming city. Number 2, the development of a mutual understanding and respect among all such groups in the city and to help eliminate prejudice and discrimination. Number 3, the establishment and maintenance of contacts with groups in the community which are concerned with protection of civil liberties of all people, resolution of conflict, and interracial and intercultural understanding, and to report to the mayor, city council, and city manager regarding the activities of these groups. In such, we made our resolution decision back in January and in February of 2020, based on the numerous testimonies from our community members that shared negative impacts, trauma, and experiences with the Columbus statue. As a member of this community and as a member of the HRC, it is my hope you engage with the HRC to best understand the resolution, the vast public comments in support of the statue's removal, and the ongoing efforts to get the resolution presented to council. So, I know this is Commissioner German's item that he had wanted to discuss that we're going to get an update from staff. Just from reading that, I think we need to touch base with the Human Relations Commission and get an update from the city staff as regards to what the city council is planning on doing with this. So that will be my last chair comment. So at this point, commissioner's comment. So Commissioner German, would you like to go?
I would. And in order, the language in the email is all fine and well, but what's good for the goose should have been good for the gander here. Where was the contact and outreach, as it's called today, from the HRC to the Park and Rec Commission when it came to discussion of the statute? I'm not alone in feeling that our jurisdiction, our clear jurisdiction in this matter, was snatched away from us. The email talks about members of the community regarding negative impacts, trauma, etc., from community members. Where was the notice that other people might come in and extol the virtues of Christopher Columbus, however flawed that he was, and historians recognize this. Where was the notice so that the community as a whole could participate in this? And why was the matter taken away from this committee, Park and Rec Commission, when it's clearly within our jurisdiction, and given to another commission whose jurisdiction over this is, in my view, tangential at best? There's a lot of flowery language in here about negative impacts, trauma, and experiences. We read this in the press every day. It's usually accompanied by similar testimony, all on the side, all in favor of the position being advanced by the reporter. So with all due respect to the author of the email, I respectfully reject it. That is the lead into what happened here as far as report from the Park and Rec people and handling this matter. Why was it taken away without notice to us until it was taken away? And stepping aside from the virtues of whether or not Christopher Columbus deserves a statue or not, why was due process not followed so that everybody, pro and con, could have input into this? That's how I see it. That's how a lot of other people see it in Chula Vista. And I base that upon comments viewed in Nextdoor, which is a good source for judging community responses to issues. And were the groups that were behind this really Chula Vista groups, or were they outside groups? It was interesting earlier when we talked about the 75% membership or citizenship residency requirement for the various tiers of organizations in the sports context. Well, I'd like to know, first of all, who these groups were, where they're based, and if some of them, if any of them, qualify under that 75% rule. From the research I've been able to do, it seems to me that the groups were basically outside of Chula Vista. They mobilized under the threat of tearing the statue down. They clearly said so that in an attempt to avoid any direct implication of what they were doing. But one of the people involved in leading the opposition in support of removing the statue said, "I suppose we all know why we're going to meet today at the statue in Discovery Park. Well, gee, I wonder what that could be. Should we all bring ropes and chains or whatever at the same time?" So those, again, are particulars. I'd like to know why this matter proceeded the way it did without a respect for our due process rights, and moreover, in violation, to my mind, of the city charter regarding the due rights and responsibilities of this commission. So I leave it to you, Tim. Have at it.
Thank you, Commissioner. So the initial request from the organizations that were requesting to bring this matter came to the Office of Communications, the Office of City Manager, and the Mayor and Council's office, requesting the item be brought up to the Human Relations Commission. It was a decision of the city management team to have it routed through the Human Relations Commission, with the ultimate decision to be made by City Council. But from my understanding, they wanted to wait until there's deliberation, ability to have the face-to-face deliberation, and then also develop a committee with the Parks and Rec Commission to help discuss this. As far as the temporary removal of the statue, so on June 12th, there was concern that the statue would be torn down by members of the public, as you referenced. And due to the immediate safety concerns, the city did remove the statue and storing it securely. That was a kind of a last-minute decision that was made by city leadership for the safety of community, and there wasn't time to have the proper deliberation with the commission. But we do realize this is a park amenity, and this will have to have some deliberation from the commission at some point. But I think the city leadership's decision to suspend this discussion until we do have opportunity to have dialogue in person. I know Nextdoor and also with the e-comment, that's one way to be able to comment. But as you can see from some of the comments here, people are still having a hard time being able to send comments and have these this dialogue with the commissioners and with each other.
Fair enough, which is an argument for more notices I've ever heard. When did you first receive this request from these groups that you talked about earlier?
I believe the city manager's office received it in early January, and then it was put on the Human Relations Commission agenda at the end of January. Sorry, Commissioner German, you're muted again.
Damn it. You'll recall that you and I had a discussion back in January or February regarding the background to this, in which I suggested that some research be done concerning the origins of the statue, who paid for it, who wants to remove it, how much it would cost to remove, what are the options in terms of where it's going, etc. I didn't hear back from you on any of those points until we learned through third parties that the statue had been removed. So can you understand why we might feel a little slighted in that respect when it clearly came under our jurisdiction? And not only by my own estimate, but by that of the HRC itself, whose email that I believe I previously forwarded to you specifically said that we look forward to working with Park and Rec on this. However, that didn't stop them from making their recommendation to the city council, and for whatever reason, and there is a prudent side to it that I can understand, to remove the statute and place it in safekeeping. So I'm not going to ask where the statue is now. I really don't want to know, and I don't want other people to know whose motivations may be less civic-minded. But what other considerations are under consideration in terms of what's going to be done with the statue? What's going to replace the blank pedestal that's there that I pass by almost every day because this park is located just across the street from my house, practically, just across Otay Lakes Road from my house. What's going on?
Commissioners, also check your chat. There was another e-comment that was sent in regards to this statue. Just click on that link so you can see it and read the additional e-comment that was provided. And then my 2 cents, Commissioner German, because I've talked to Tim about this before, and I think the best action for us right now, since we're not going to try to think. What's already done is done. We need to figure out what the timeline was, but we don't need to figure that out right now. We do need to work with the HRC. We do need to work together to present something towards council and figure out what the long-term action is going to be. And from what I've been told, it sounds like the council would like to do this as soon as we can actually get together and see each other. So we're not doing over this medium. So my recommendation and my thought on this is we try and let the city figure out what's going on internally. We try and get together with the human resources group or human relations group, and then be able to work with council when council has people in person, so we know we're all seeing the whites of each other's eyes and making the best decision possible for this going forward.
I have no problem with that. I view it as a aspect of transparency.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I cannot overemphasize we have not had that transparency to date. And in fact, what happened with the HRC? We get these comments that are full of cliches, the standard dribble, in my opinion, that you can find in any newspaper these days. I object to that. Who are these people? One of them seems to be a Chula Vista resident. Are the others? Are the organizations involved? The American Indian Movement? That's not headquartered in Chula Vista. What happened here? And I don't want it to happen again.
I'd like to just make a comment that I appreciate that the issue about the statue was taken to the HRC. I appreciate the prudence of holding the statue in a safe place. I appreciate the conversation being held until we can have stronger advocacy or comments from our community members. This is, I don't know, Chair, if you want to read the comment, it's asking to be read publicly. I can read it if you prefer.
Oh, sorry. I'm watching your Park and Rec Commission meeting and cannot figure out how to send public. I support the permanent removal of the statue. Columbus represents Native American genocide and white supremacy. He raped women, scalped natives, enslaved people, and killed and brutalized the peaceful people who shared their land and hospitality. Chula Vista is supposed to be a welcoming city, and this statue is consistent with WC, welcoming city. Why put on a literal as Columbus? Put him in a museum and tell the truth of his atrocious acts. Support the HR Commission recommendation to remove the statue change the name of the park, and celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day on October 12th. Thank you. From a retired educator. Sorry, Charles, my video was off all that. So this is a much bigger topic than anything we'll get decided on tonight. And the wishes of the council, from what I've heard from Tim and from just me talking to people, it sounds like they do want to deal with this. So I think we need to support them dealing with this. We just had another comment pop up. They support the removal. Anything good can come out of the racial social strife that has enveloped the country in this unprecedented year 2020. That the city of Chula Vista will also critically examine its own reverence for one so-called history over another. Take the time to find the truth, and our city will be better for it. So I think the short version of all this is we need to sit down with human relations. We need to provide a joint thing to the city council so we can let them know where we stand and what we feel, and then see what they're going to end up saying. Commissioner German.
That sounds reasonable, and certainly it needs to be discussed more. It is possible, however, that we may not agree with HRC's view on things. Therefore, I would suggest that we steer clear of committing to a joint recommendation or joint resolution to City Council, but let the process duly noticed so everybody gets a chance to weigh in, and then see where we go from there.
I think that's fair.
And I think it's important to speak in individual language and versus we, because what I believe doesn't align with what Commissioner German has stated multiple times. And I would appreciate that we do have this conversation in both commissions and take the time to determine whether or not this is something that our community supports. Thank you.
Yes, and I agree, and I did not mean to speak on behalf of anyone but myself.
Okay. All right. So that covers Commissioner German's comments. Any other commissioner comments on any other items? Commissioner Zarm, you're good? How are the trails? You getting out hiking and biking?
I am. I have a comment. I think Human Resources Commission should stay in their lane. This is a Parks and Rec issue, and they can show up before one of our meetings and comment. But they went to ask us directly to the city council and to the mayor, and they should stay in their lane. The other comment I have is I visited Orion and Strata Park. We were supposed to have the ribbon cutting there, but the virus and everything, and they look pretty good. I have a question for the staff. Are any other parks coming online soon?
The closest park to come online is just right around the corner from Orion Park. It's called Millennia Park, and it's still probably another 6 months out. But if you look at it, it looks like it's almost completely built. They're flying through construction of these parks. We do have a couple parks that are in the queue as well. Escaya Park, and then there's another park in the Montecito neighborhood called Meadow Park. They are probably about a year out. They haven't started construction yet, but they should be coming online pretty soon. But yes, definitely Millennia Park. If you drive by there, it's right behind the Ayers Hotel in the Millennia neighborhood. You can see kind of how the park's going to be developed once you drive by there.
Okay, thanks. And for fellow commissioners, those two parks, Orion and Strata, there's a big plaque there with your name on it. Looks pretty cool. Go and take a picture of it. That's all I have.
Sweet. Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Zarm. Commissioner German. Still muted.
Commissioner German, you're on mute.
Hoisted by my own petard. Commissioner, I'm sorry, Tim, you and I had traded emails earlier about the status of the various playgrounds. Can you give me an update on that, please?
We'll provide that update in the staff comments.
Oh, okay, that's coming up then. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, is that all? Commissioner comments? Anything else? Okay, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Real quick, there was another public statement just from Beatrice Zamora about not appreciating that Mr. German called her comment dribble, and I agree. Inappropriate for a commissioner.
Commissioner German.
If I may respond to clarify the record, what I said was drivel, D-R-I-V-E-L, not dribble. And stand by my comment.
Okay, moving on to staff comments. Tim, what do you got?
Let me introduce Gil. He's going to give you a quick overview of what our recreation staff has been doing. We're going to show a brief video, and then we will move into just a quick discussion on what's open and what's not in our parks.
Good evening, commissioners. Can you hear me? Awesome. All right. So, obviously our current situation has led us into a lot of different duties and services throughout the last couple of months. So I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what recreation's been up to. So we are continuing doing daily food deliveries to those who are in need. Those have trickled down. There aren't as many as when we first started, but there still are daily deliveries that are being done. We are serving as a food distribution and food storage site at Loma Verde, and that's in partnership with the South Bay Community Services. Currently, they have an all-week program going on and distributing, I believe, 3 days a week. We're operating a cool zone out of the old Sears building at Chula Vista Shopping Center. Currently, we're open Monday through Friday, 12 to 5, and on weekends when the heat advisory is above 85. So over the last month, we've gotten a number of people in there, especially on the weekends as it's been heating up quite a bit. We are currently operating a home away from school program, which is basically a distance learning assistance program. And this is for the children of our current employees in the city of Chula Vista. We have a number of kids. We have 14 kids over at Parkway. We also have Montevideo starting up as well. So basically, it's a place where the kids can go and do their distance learning and have some assistance from our recreation staff. They also have a number of activities and games that we're doing with them, and obviously we're keeping abreast of the precautions and the cleanliness and the sanitation of the location. So safety is our first priority, but we're happy to be able to provide a service like that for the children of our employees. Field requests and rentals. If you guys have been out to fields, you can see in parks they're still packed. We are doing month-to-month rentals with youth sports groups. We have fitness groups there, yoga and boot camps. We have church groups out there on a regular basis. They are also all following safety guidelines and protocols. We've also increased a couple of recreation staff to be out at these parks to inform the users and basically issue some park education on what they can and cannot do in the parks, because there's such a wide variety of uses there. It helps that we have more staff out there who can educate the residents on the park etiquette. As far as pools and aquatics is concerned, last month we opened up for group rentals, and this month, in the next week, we're going to be opening up for lap swim and private one-on-one lessons. So you should start seeing some information coming out there. Again, we're excited to be able to start slowly opening some of our outdoor programs, and aquatics is one of those. And then online coming next month, we are doing some outdoor activities and classes at other parks and other recreation centers. Again, not necessarily inside just yet, but a little bit more outdoor activity, so we can get the youth and the adults in Chula Vista a little bit more of our activities and classes that they've been used to in the past. So that wraps up my list of what recreation's been up to the last couple of months. Are there any questions? Commissioner German?
I do have a question. You talked about swimming pools. Thank God they've not been forgotten. Which ones are you opening up for laps next week?
So for lap swim, I want to say that is Loma Verde, but I'm going to have to double check my notes. So I believe it opens up on the 21st, and I will follow up with you on that.
Thank you. And second, and both of these are in response to questions specifically posed on Nextdoor. How's the status of the playgrounds? Folks would like to know if they can take their kids to the playgrounds and make sure that they're open.
I'm sorry, Mr. German. With the staff comments, I'm going to report on the parks side.
Okay, I keep jumping the gun on that.
Sorry.
I'm under pressure.
Any other questions on the report?
All right, I'm going to show a brief video that that our staff put together about the away from home school. If it doesn't go through, then we'll just skip it, but let me try it real quick here. Did that come through? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna briefly talk about what's going on in our parks. So the county public health order, which was last updated on September 10th, states that each park and recreation facility shall operate in compliance with the guidance set forth by the state in its industry guidance for campgrounds, RV parks, and outdoor recreation. And according to industry guidance, outdoor spaces intended for gatherings and group functions, including pavilions, communal fire rings, and amphitheaters, should remain closed. Remove, separate, post-closure signs or tape off benches, common area, picnic tables, and multi-purpose seating to discourage visitors from congregating. And it also clearly states playgrounds should also remain closed. These activities and amenities are considered high risk because they are high-touch surfaces that we cannot guarantee they are cleaned and disinfected between uses, as well as encouraging congregating children in a closed space. So currently, playgrounds, public social settings, picnic shelters, and picnic tables are closed. Until we receive further guidance or changes from the state or county, these amenities will continue to be closed as we adhere to the public health order. So what is open? So we do have youth sports groups that can use sports fields under the state guidance for youth sports, which is limiting use to skills and drills only. So still no scrimmages and no competitions. Trails are also open for hiking and walking. And as you guys probably are aware, biking has been known to take place on those trails as well. Skate parks, tennis courts, basketball courts, all of these are open for individuals or members of the same household. And we have been educating and encouraging the safe use of these facilities on a daily basis. Our park rangers have been interacting with over 150 park users a day who are in restricted areas or using park amenities in a way that is against the public health order. And as Gil said, we have also been opening our parks for fitness businesses and churches who have been displaced from their inside operations. And everything's along the same state guidance. And if the county moves backward again into a more restrictive tier, we may see an increase in demand for using outdoor space for those purposes as well. So we're just as anxious as a community to be able to open up these amenities, but we want to ensure we're doing so with the support from the county and state, as well as ensuring the safety of our community members. So Commissioner German, does that answer your question as far as the playgrounds and why they're closed?
Sure does. In fact, I will post on Nextdoor something to the effect that in compliance with the September 10th order from the County Public Health Department, that playgrounds will remain closed as high-risk areas in addition to picnic areas, shelters, and other gathering spots. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments?
Commissioner Zahn?
Yeah, I know we're running late, but can you just give a very brief update on Norman Park Senior Center?
Yes, Norman Park Senior Center has been near completion with all the construction projects that have been assigned to our Public Works team through Measure P. So they've redone the upper deck that used to leak into the annex there. They've redone that. They've redone the roof on that side. They're getting ready to swap out the HVAC system. They redid the kitchen and the restrooms in the main lobby. took out the glass block cylinder that was in the lobby that was one, not only very unattractive, but also blocked line of sight for staff. The staff area was redone as well. The whole interior was redesigned, and it looks gorgeous. New carpet tiles, the community space, the main hall has the floor resurfaced, so it's a wooden floor. It's been resurfaced completely, and they're putting in new countertops right now. And now on the western portion of the building, it's a big, giant semicircle roof that is being replaced because that has started leaking. So once that's done, then we're pretty much done with all the Measure P projects for Norman Park Senior Center. Unfortunately, like same with Orion and Strata, it's going to be a while till we can do a ribbon cutting. But if you just walk by, you can see the difference that facility, that the construction has made that facility. Even the outdoor trellises have been repainted and redone, and it's the facility looks gorgeous.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim.
Tim,
Any other staff comments?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Could I just follow up with Commissioner German? The lap swim will be at Parkway starting September 21st.
I have a feeling Commissioner German will be there.
Commissioner German, you're on mute.
Thank you. 921 Parkway, any idea on Loma Verde, I'm sorry.
We won't have lap swim at Loma Verde just yet.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other staff comments before we get our one last public comment in and then adjourn the meeting? Tim?
No more staff comments.
Okay. One last public comment came in before the end of the meeting here. It said, please add to the official record that I again do not appreciate Commissioner German's comment that my public comment as a CV resident is drivel, meaning it was nonsensical. This is still offensive. He's a commissioner who has a responsibility to listen to public comment from CV residents. If he's not willing to do that respectfully, he should step down. CV deserves better than that. We deserve responsible and professional representation. Commissioner German.
Thank you for the opportunity to respond. I have an obligation to listen to people, and I do. I don't think there's anybody on this commission or any of the other commissions I've served on that'll say I'm not a good listener in one sense or the other. But I'm under no obligation whatsoever to agree with people and not to call them out when I hear drivel, D-R-I-V-E-L. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner German. With that being said, I believe we have no more additional comments. So at this point, we will adjourn the meeting. It is 8:35 p.m. and I'm adjourning this meeting to Thursday, November 19th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. Thank you all for your attendance.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.